So let's begin with the configuration steps. The steps as under: first will be defining the customer account groups, then defining number range for customer master, assign number range to customer account groups, define customer tolerance, define customer discount for incoming invoices, maintain document number, create GL reconciliation accounts, create customer master records, GL master records to be created in AR, and then unit testing. So moving to the customer account groups, as you can see the path is already there. As we already discussed for the customer account groups earlier, that in this we basically maintain the number range for the customer masters, and it also look after the filled status for different type of customers. Basically means separating different types of customers into different customer groups. You can make different fields as required, optional or suppressed. For example, suppose my own company 1200 which we created has got different customers. If I categorize those customers as one as a service customer and one as material customer, so in that case I will be creating two customer account groups, one as a service customer and another as a finance customer. Now in those two different customer groups, I want the customer masters which will be created. There are certain fields which I want to be mandatorily to be filled in service group, whereas some fields mandatory in the field in the finance group. How this will work, let's see in the SAP system itself. Now I'm logging to the SAP GUI. The username and the password. So now I would be working with the path. As the path says, I have to go to the IMG screen. For that, again, SPR is the transaction code, enter. I will go to the IMG screen. Then I will be moving to the financial accounting, account receivable, payable, customer account for customers. So we'll be moving to accounts, financial accounting, new, account receivable. In that I am working on accounts, customer accounts. I will go to customer, then I have to go to master data, and in master data I have to create the group. So preparation for creating customer master data, as we went over here from this, and defining the group. So defining the group is over here, define account groups with screen layouts. Now moving up over here, executing it. There are different customer groups already created. As you can see, different groups are already there: consumer, wholesale, franchise customers, sales partner, competitors, pay to bill, and number of different customer groups are already in the system. Now what I will be creating as decided is, first I will be creating one service customer group. So for service customer group I will be giving it SERV. Now I can write it over here, service customer group. And then once you fill this, you can go to this. There are three kind of field status which can be changes can be done to this. So as you can see that their field status groups are divided into three parts in the screen. One is general data, another is company code data, and next is sales data. Basically general data, the field is in this section is valid for customer master data regardless of the company code using it. So this general data basically takes the general details of the customer. Now if you double click on this general data, you will find what are the details, what are the different fields in it. It contains the basic details, informations about the customer like address, his communication details, his marketing details, payment transactions. Suppose I go to the address and double click on the address. Now it includes number of different fields in this, and all of them are in the optional mode. That means the screen will be displayed to you when you will be creating the customer master, but they are not mandatory. If you wish, you can skip them, and the system will allow you to skip to these fields on a screen. So if I make any of these fields as a mandatory part, in that case, suppose I make the reason as a mandatory part. In that case, you can see the optional has changed now to the required entry. And in this case, if I save this, that means whenever you will be creating any customer master in service customer group, you need to fill this required field, that is the region field. So suppose I make it as a mandatory part over here and saved it. Saved it means it will take the configuration on the request. So your service customer group is created, and in that I made the changes in the general data. So in the same way, in the general data, if you feel any fields in these are to be done mandatory, like in the communication, again double clicking on it, you can see the communication detail like fax number, tel box, internet address, mobile number. If you need to make mandatory, you need the email address of the consumer to be made as a mandatory, you can make this as a mandatory. And fields which you think are not needed, are useless, you don't want those to be displayed on a screen, you can make those fields as suppressed. Like suppose I don't need this teletext, I can go and I can fill on a suppressed part, so this particular field will not get displayed on a screen to you. This will be hidden in the background. Save it and the setting will get applied. Same way, moving to the company code data. Company code data, in this all the fields are valid at the company code level. So if my company code is 1200, whatever details I will fill in this particular part, that will be valid only for my company code 1200. So double click on the company code data. Now let's see what are the details in it, like account management. So in account management you can find different things in it. So in that, one of the field is reconciliation account. Reconciliation account, you must always have to make it as a mandatory mark, as a required entry, because you need to fill the reconciliation account with a GL account. As we discussed earlier, that accounts receivable is a subsidiary ledger, and in that, whenever we create a customer master, we had to assign a GL in it, so that the entries of customer will get flow to that ledger account. That is why we need this reconciliation account to be filled with a GL number. That's why I'm making it as a required entry, and you too have always have to make this as a required entry. If you will not and you skip this, that means you will not be able to post the transactions. In the same way, if you feel any other fields to be mandatory, you can make them as a mandatory mark, otherwise you can save it and your settings will be applied, your customizations will be applied on a screen. So it is sales company code data. Moving next is sales data. Sales data, double clicking on it, it basically relates to the sales and distribution module. In sales and distribution module, the sales and distribution department fills different details in it, like what is the shipping point, what is the sales organization, then what will be the billing and all. So if you go in sales, we'll find again all as optional. So whenever you will go in any of the field status, you will find it as optional. It will not restrict or make anything as a mandatory, but as per requirement, if you need anything to be made as a mandatory, you can make those things as a required entry from opt entry. So these are the things. I will not make any changes in the sales data because I am not implementing any sales and distribution module. So we'll go back again, we'll go back. So this is it. My service customer group is already created. Now we'll going back again, and now my service customer group is created over here. You can see on a screen SERV is the service customer group for my company 1200. Even if you want, you can make changes to it. Double click on it, and suppose not to get confused with so many different customer groups, I put my company code at the last as a as a link to remember. Save it. It's now saved. We'll go back. So in the same way, I will be creating one more customer group. As said, now I will be creating next as a finance customer group. So moving over here in a finance customer group, suppose I fill the account group as FINC, and now I will be customer finance customer group. Again, in this case, if you need anything to be mandatory for finance customer group, you can go to this field status and you can make those things as a mandatory. For example, I need my finance customers mobile number to be made mandatory. So I can go to this communication, double click on it. Hi. So you can go to the back, double click on the communication, and now I need my mobile number to be made mandatory for the customer. So the concerned person from the customer side's mobile number you can make over here as a mandatory part. So for making it mandatory, you need to make the required entry instead of the optional entry. And once you make this and save it, in that case your customization will be done for that particular finance customer group. So you can see the difference that for finance customer group I have made the mobile number mandatory, whereas for service customer group I have not made the mobile number mandatory. So for different customer groups there could be few fields which you need as a compulsory part, and for other one it may not be that much compulsory. So accordingly you can manage your customer groups. Now in the same way you can go to the company code data, and in that even you can make things as a mandatory or suppressed. Like in payment methods, payment transactions, you can see there are different fields in it. If you feel any of these things are to be made mandatory in this, or you don't need those things, you can hide them. Like I don't need the lockbox, so I want it to be hidden, I can go to this suppressed and it will be hidden in it. So and save it. So your two different customer groups have been created. One is service customer group, another is finance customer groups. Now moving to the next. So this is your customer account group which we have just defined. In the same way, now moving ahead, we'll be defining the number range for customer master. So moving on a screen, now we'll go to the number range. Going back one step back, it will take you to the path. Now in this path you can see the path is given over here. We need to go to create number range for customer master account groups. So in this you can see in the same screen in SAP, you can see over here below the create number range for customer account is there. You can execute it now. Executed. Now we'll go to this change interval to maintain number range for my two different customer groups which I have created as service customer group and finance customer group. Now you can see different number range are already over here. If you need, you can use any of them for both of them, for both the groups, or if you want you can create your own number range as well. Like suppose I want to create. Now what I can create, you have to look that whatever the number range I would be creating, it should not be overlapping to any of these which are in the screen. So I can go to this plus. You can see these are the serial numbers. This, this. You just need to have a different serial number. You cannot repeat the serial number twice. Duplicacy is not allowed. So suppose I go and I create 8 is there, so I create 9. So creating 9, 0, 9, and the number range I want for is 90000 to 90999, and I add it from over here as insert it. So inserting it, and say you can see at the below on the footnote, enter interval overlaps without overlaps. That means these numbers are overlapping, so you need to carefully check that these number does not overlap with any of the others. So I can go to this again, and you can see the number has been taken, inserted, and you can see the 9 number is there for it. And now you can save it, and your number range will be created. Now I can go back and can assign this number range to the customer account group, as you can see. So to assigning the number range to the customer account group, I need to go to assign number range to customer account group, execute it, and in this you have to search your own account group in this which you want to assign the number range. There are two options: either you can go with this as page down, dragging it, or you can search from this position as well if you remember the account group. Like I remember for service it was SERV. Enter. So you can see in the top of the list I got my account group over here, and I created the number range as 09. So I can mark it over here as 09 and save it. That means your service customer group has been assigned the number range as 09. That means whenever a customer will be created, the code from and to will be from this number range. In the same way, if you want the same number range 09 to be used for your finance customer group, even you can assign that. So FINV for finance customer group. Okay, it was FINC. So that is over there. In this, if I want to use the same number range, I can assign the same serial number 09 over here. Or in case you need a different serial number range, so in that case you can create a different serial number with the different from and to range, and you can assign that over here for that also. So if I save it, that means the same serial number range have been assigned to both the custom groups. But if I want, I can have a different number range assigned too. Like suppose we go back and we create. Now it came to mind that duplicacy, or maybe it will be difficult to remember the customers whether it belongs to the service account group or a finance account group. It's better to have a different number range for a easy identification of customers. So I decided now later on to go and create a different number range for customer account. So we'll be going back again, and in that we remember that 909 we have already created. So now I will be creating is 10 after 9. So going to this plus 1010, now to and if I make it as insert, So the number has been inserted for 10 also over here. Save it. Okay, and now going back, I will assign this particular number range to my finance account group. I don't want to keep the same number range, because having a different number range will make me to identify my customer group with that customer master number easily. So now FINC, enter, and this I have defined 09. Instead of that, now I will be changing it to 10. Save it. So my customer account group has been created now. So we have covered the first three steps of configurations. First, defining the customer account group. Second, defining the number range for customer master. Next is assigning number range to customer account group. Now moving next to defining the customer tolerance. So tolerance we have already discussed earlier. Customer tolerance, the customization for customer tolerance and vendor tolerance in accounts payable is same. The same customization applies to both of the customer as well as for the vendors. Still, customer account tolerance group are assigned to customer master records, which will restrict the customer line items payment option. Customer tolerance allows you to specify the maximum payment difference that can be changed to a GL account and the maximum cash discount percentage and the maximum allowable payment difference in percentage terms up to a total dollar amount. How? Let's see it in the screen in the SAP system. Going back. So as you can see the path, after accounts receivable and payable you have to go to the business transactions. So we'll be going back to the business transactions and then open item clearing, because this is always used at the time of clearing activities, clearing differences. And clearing differences, you can see define tolerance for customer and vendors. So you can see the oblique customers oblique vendors, because the same customizations apply for both customer and vendor. In this you can search your company code 1200. So this is it, 1200. We have not created any tolerance groups as that is not needed. So double click on the company code 1200. You can see while doing accounts payable we did all these configurations already in the system. In this, the permitted payment difference basically means that you can make a maximum payment difference with 500 or 5%, whichever is lower. On the other side you can see if automatic write-off is there, as we have already discussed in account at the time of accounts payable also, that automatic payment $100 or whatever the percentage you assign over here, either of those, whichever is lower, will be allowed as a payment difference. So it gives you the maximum payment difference tolerance, maximum cash discount percentage, and the maximum allowable payment difference in percentage term, as you can define the percentage over here. That is it's basically used for. You can save it in case you did any changes to it. So that is what the tolerance is all about. Moving up next, defining cash discount for incoming invoices. Now moving to the cash incoming payment, and the cash discount in incoming payment. Going back to the path. Now discount comes when we receive the incoming payment. So we need to go to the incoming payment and then incoming payment global setting, and in this we will be assigning the account. So we are giving the discount, so we need to define the account over here for cash discount granted. So executing it, you need to put your chart of account over here. If you don't remember, you can go and even have a look from over here what are the different chart of account and which is yours in it. So if you remember, my chart of account was 1000. So I just went it over here, enter. So this is what is coming up over here as you can see. This is the transaction SKT. SKT transaction basically means the cash discount expense. Now in this I need to assign the account, so I need to go and click on this accounts. Okay, save the rules first. So you need to save it over here, and you can see the option has changed. Now you can assign the account over here. So now in this we need to select the account. So for that I will be going to F4 on the screen on the keyboard, and in this I will be searching for the GL account if there is any GL account for so these are the different, but there is no cash discount account. There is a received, but I am now at this point of time I am allowing the discount. So allowing a discount is an expense and receiving is a revenue and income. So I need to create a new GL. I need to create a new GL, that is cash discount allowed with. So for creating one I need to go to a new screen. From this creates a screen, and now I will be creating one. So going to create one more ledger, FS00. If you could remember, this was the first sub module we did. In this you need to put the number over here first. So to know the number first, we will be looking after what are the different ledgers already created in the system. So you can see I need to create an expense ledger, and expense in these starts with 4 and there is already a purchase account. So next 4 last time 0 1 will be for cash discount allowed. So I will be taking this and just changing the last digit in the sequence 1, go to new, and then again now over here you need to select the expense. As you will be creating an expense part, you need to put the short text cash discount allowed. Moving to the next tab, that is the control data. In this you need to select the text category as star, check mark the posting without text allowed, click on the line item display, move to the next. Now over here I already said in couple of sessions back that whenever we are creating any expense ledger, we will be selecting the field status group as G004 as a cost accounts, because all are expense. save it. So once you save, you can remember that your ledger account has been created. So this is my ledger account. I can select it, Control C to copy, and then you can go to your last screen and you can assign that particular number over here as Control V to paste. Or else the next option is to, you can go with this drop down and you can see the list of ledger accounts, and in that you can select your cash discount allowed GL which just created. So that is there. Double click on it, got selected. So once selected, you can save it. So your cash discount allowed GL has been customized for the company code 1200. So cash discount is over. Moving next is to maintain the document number range. So as already discussed, the different transactions, customer transactions, every transaction will generate a number after posting, and that number is what generated from this document number range which we assign. So basically we assign two different number range, one is 18 and one is 14. 18 is for customer invoice and 14 is for customer payment. Suppose we need to check this, going back, or we can move to the next screen over here. Now let's see how. OBA7, this is for document types. Document types makes it easy to understand different type of transactions and their nature. For customers, all the document type starts with D. You can see D. So in D you can see one is customer invoice and one is customer payment. So first, customer invoice, whenever you post any customer invoice in the system, the document type generated is DE, and whenever you receive any incoming payment, the customer document type generated is DZ. So that makes it easy to identify whether a particular transaction relates to a customer or a vendor or a GL account or an asset, because everyone have got their own different document types, and within that you can easily identify whether it is DZ or DE, and it will make it easy to identify whether it is an invoice or payment. So when you double click on any of them, you can see what is the number assigned to that, the number range. The number range assigned over here is 18. You can have your own number range assigned over here as well if you want. I can change it. I can assign it something else like 10 or maybe 3030 or anything else for that matter as I want to. But right now it is coming 18 because this is by default from the SAP software. So at this point of time I will not be changing. This is the standard number range for customer invoice. In any of the client, if you are going for an implementation project, you will always find these number range by default in the software. So we'll be creating this 18 number range for customer invoice and DZ, double click, 14 for customer payment. Now you already know, to create the number range you need to go for transaction FBN1. The path is also there, it's up to you. You can go with the path or with the transaction code. So moving up to the transaction code, you need to go to /n FBN1, enter. Now put the company code 1200, and now over here you can go for display intervals. It will display you what is already maintained for the company code. This is 0, 1, 15 and 19. If you remember, we have maintained this different number range in the earlier sessions. Going back, now you can go to this interval, change interval, and this we can add intervals by going to this interval option. So clicking on this, you see the screen comes up over here. Now what I need to define is 18 and 14. So for 18 I need to define serial number 18 over here, and I'm defining this document number for the fiscal year 2014. Minded, this document number range for transaction data keep changing from year to year. So for next year you have to define new document number, or even you can use whatever is defined already over here. You can copy all this number range. Now assigning it over here, one, if I have written if I have taken the 18 as a serial number, I will also be maintaining the range from 18 only, so as to easily identify or too easy to remember things. So I have assigned from 18 for serial number 18, insert. Now I need to, 18 has been assigned. Now I need one more, that is 14. So I will again go to this interval, and now I will maintain for 14 2014, and you can again insert it over here. So you can see your 14 has also been inserted. Now you can go and you can save it. That is it. So and you have to continue. So your number range has also been defined. In the same way we defined the number range in GL module and in accounts payable as well. So this is it for today's lecture. We'll continue the further configurations in the next lecture for account receivable. Thank you.